Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you back with me. As you know, my channel is dedicated to hobbies and other activities that I like to do in my spare time. One of which, periodically over the years, has been to complete a scale plastic model. I haven't done a whole lot of these. I counted them up the other day. I think over the 46 years that I've been around, I've done probably 18 to 20 of them. And they haven't always been so great, but now that I'm older, I'm able to pay better attention to detail and be more specific and intentional about things that I do. And I actually just completed this beautiful B25J model. It really came out nice. I've got some pictures of it here on the screen for you. I'm very proud of it. Took about 4 weeks for me to complete. It wasn't the easiest model to put together. It was just a very cheap model that I paid, I think, $9.95 for at a bookstore that I ran into. It was a used bookstore, and they had some models sitting in the front, so I picked it up. I actually held on to it in the box for about 4 or 5 years, and finally, now that we've been doing the quarantine business, I decided that it would be fun to go ahead and put one together. My wife likes to do puzzles during this time, and I thought it'd be fun for me to go ahead and do some plastic modeling, since I hadn't done anything like that in several years. Well, it turned out so good that I decided to follow it up with another model, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. But the model I chose was the Tamiya. I think I pronounced that correctly. 1/100 scale space shuttle orbiter. And the reason I chose to do that is actually kind of interesting. For many years now, I've had in my garage this small piece of tire. And this tire had been flown in space aboard orbiters Atlantis and Columbia, first on mission STS-27, and then following that on mission STS-28 aboard Columbia. And what I plan on doing is, well, not only sharing with you along the way the completion of this model, but at the end of it, after we've done, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 videos through the completion process, I'm going to mount this on a stand with the shuttle, and have that up for auction on eBay. And I think that's kind of exciting, actually. The reason I chose to do well, I should say first, the orbiter that I chose to portray is Atlantis, and the reason I chose that is because it is one of these 2 orbiters that the tire was flown on. But there's a little story here, and it's kind of interesting. Columbia, as you know, was one of the hulls that was lost in space, or I should say on the return from space, the re-entry segment, on the way back to Earth. And it was lost because a piece of foam, as I understand it, became detached from the external tank shortly after liftoff, and struck the shuttle on the left wing leading edge, the orbiter rather, on the left wing leading edge, in the carbon-carbon material. And because of the velocity of that foam, even though it weighed only north, I guess, of about 1 pound, it was moving at about 500 miles per hour when it struck the leading edge. It created some significant damage, which ultimately led to the demise of the shuttle coming off orbit in the re-entry process. And I don't know if I'm getting off track here, but Atlantis, STS-27, you have to go back and look at that mission, to understand the significance. Was one of the most, if not the most, damaged orbiters that ever safely returned to Earth. And I guess that was maybe done by some part that had exited one of the solid rocket boosters, I think, on the climb out. But either way, when it returned to Earth, it was missing somewhere around, I think, like 800 tiles or so. Well, after every shuttle launch, you have a team of engineers that review films, or that would review films back when we were flying the shuttles, and they would look for things. And one of the things that they had noticed after Columbia had launched was the foam that had struck the leading edge surface of the orbiter. Well, armed with that information, everybody began evaluating how it would affect safety. And based on my research, they used STS-27 as a reference as to whether or not a shuttle could return to Earth safely with tile damage that was significant, as it was on that mission. They also, I guess, decided that since the foam weighed less than a pound and they couldn't really see any damage in the film, even though it was pretty grainy and out of focus from the angles that they had, that it was probably safe enough to go ahead and proceed with the deorbit burn and bring Columbia back to Earth. And as we all know, that was an unsuccessful attempt. And in hindsight, after further investigation, everyone determined that yes, in fact, when that foam strikes the leading edge at those speeds, that it can cause significant amounts of damage that can be catastrophic. So again, what I want to do is I want to combine this shuttle with this tire and put it on eBay after completion, and hopefully we'll get some bidders there. But in the meantime, I'd like to show the build process and where I'm at along the way. And I guess one of the things that I'll just go ahead and dive right in with is where I started, which is where I put the main fuselage together here. And what I've done so far up front is I've gone ahead and puttied up all these joints and smoothed everything through here and primed it up nice. I've got the windows all polished underneath there, and now they're masked off and ready for further paint. The cargo bay is it's not going to be wholly completed because I do intend to have the shuttle in the landing configuration on the stand with the landing gear extended. You can see down here on the bottom, getting all the seams puttied up and primed up and smoothed. And so there's that part of it. And right here is the SSME, or shuttle main engine mount, mounting point. So the gimbals on the back of the aft portion of the shuttle there. And here is an example of where I'm at on one of the SSME exhaust nozzles. And I don't know how well you can see that there. Let's see if I can adjust the video a little bit. Anyway, I've done quite a bit of detail work on that, and researched the coloring quite extensively. There's sort of a copperish tone to some of the relief on the engine exhaust bell itself, along with this plumbing here that comes down the side of the exhaust nozzle. And I think that's a recirculation in an effort to keep that part of the engine cooled. It's that, or it's some kind of a vent. I'm not really clear on exactly what the process is there, but either way, I've modeled it on all of the engine nozzles, and it's going to look really great, I think, in the end. And then the only other thing that I've done so far is the white spraying of the, I think these are the OMS pods, OMS pods. When I finish this model up, I'm going to be using a series of tile decals that I went ahead and purchased from an aftermarket vendor. So it'll be very, very accurate. Let's see. These are some of the tiles here. If you could see that or not. Lots of details. Lots of details. And then they have the markings included in the actual kit. Here's just a little bit of a reference. I've found that these orbiters are not easy to model. This is quite the challenge. There's a lot of different intricate details, and in fact the orbiters did change in appearance over the years, from STS-1 all the way up to the final missions in 2011. The overall paint job, in fact, was changed at least twice, if not 3 times on a couple of the orbiters, but all 5 definitely, the paint changed at least twice as far as the markings are concerned. So when I'm doing my research, I had to go in and look at a particular era that I wanted to model. And in fact, even the tiling from the early era orbiters to the late era orbiters is different, especially in the white tile area. A lot of the early white tiles on the Columbia and Challenger orbiters gave way to, I think they're Nomex, or maybe Kevlar, or a combination of the two, blankets around the exterior, and the white areas are the areas that weren't expected to be quite as hot due to atmospheric friction as the areas that you see on the shuttle that are black. Either way, you have to do a lot of research to really get a good look at the orbiters and to determine what things really do look like and how they were during the periods that you're interested in modeling. I hope that this is kind of fun to watch over the course of time, the completion of the model, and at the end of it, I hope there'll be some interest by some folks out there in purchasing not only this beautiful model after I've finished it for a nice display piece, but also a little piece of history. So, as always, it's been a pleasure to have you on my channel, and thanks for watching.